You begin to break that down, a lot of us already have that resiliency. You guys have that resiliency, right? Like you go to school here, or you accomplish different things. You already have that resiliency. By that I mean you have attributes that motivates you and drives you, that leads to action. The accomplishment that you've had up to this point in your life just didn't happen from poof. You had to put the effort and put the work. But it was motivated and driven by something. Either the influence of your family or the culture or you as a person, some of the discussion we had right now. All of that actually contributed to what you did in the past and what's gotten you to where you are now. But with that said, there's billions of people that don't operate in that state because either it's not the norm or they're just not aware of themselves. So when we look at leadership, for me, we gotta get out of just the exterior. We have to go into the core of what's actually happening. Understanding who those people are, where they are, what's happening, why do they have that mindset, why are they doing this because of that. Really truly understanding them first before we can say, okay, we can do this, we can do that. And one of the simplest way we can do that is by what we just did now. I just got to know you guys. I got to know you in a different level than maybe other people would get to know you. Like I know you're still trying to figure out what that looks like, but you have a connection to Cameroon because that's where you're from. So even that, like that's you. Like when you started digging in on who you were, like you were able to identify that right away. Even though you were unsure, you're like, I don't know really what it aligns to, but I know for sure that there was a connection to that. You started talking about it was funny because everything that you spoke about out of the three categories, it connected with one another. And I didn't even have to guess. You said it. You're like, oh, that's referring back to what I was talking about earlier about sustainability. Boom. There's a connection to that. And then when you were talking about agriculture, and I asked you what are you passionate about, the first thing you said food. But do you see how the after effect of that actually connected to what you want to do and what that is for you? And then back to you. You're still connected by your country, And you acknowledge that, at first you acknowledge that, the way that your country is dealing with the instability, they've actually done a pretty good job than other countries. So you're able to acknowledge that, but at the same time, you still acknowledge that there's still a lot of improvement that needs to be done, and you're hoping that maybe you can be the person to make an impact in that. And then for you're talking about music, you're talking about the arts that drives you, but there's also a purpose in it outside of just, I love to make music or I like to make film. You want to motivate others by that. So the reason I highlight that is, as a leader, like that's where we want to lead through that. And a lot of times people think leadership is exterior. Leadership is within first. You got to be able to lead yourself first. And you guys are doing that already. With every decision that you make every day, it doesn't mean every single one of them are perfect, but you're driving yourself to the outcome of who you are today and what you've done. But the fact that where you are now and the place that you're in, like I said earlier, you're amongst the elite. Like you have a great opportunity to actually be very disruptive in a positive way because you go to this great institution and you're getting this great education. So, but you can't just, Like you can't just take that for granted. You can't just be like, oh yeah, because there's been a lot of work that's been done to get you to where you are now. And it's important, one, to be aware of that, because the hard part is we're distracted by everything that happens in the outside that we don't really create the space to actually reflect on ourselves. And leadership, like I said earlier, a couple of seconds ago, leadership has to do with leading yourself first. If you're able to lead yourself, then you're able to identify the different components that actually contributes to that, and then it's easier for you to say, okay, how can I take this and transfer in other things that I'm passionate about, or other people that are putting